Welcome to another episode of the Loadout Music Podcast, featuring in-depth interviews with a wide range of music personalities, from rock and roll Hall of Famers to Grammy winners and today's rising stars. Recorded from the Old Rock House in St. Louis, Missouri, here's your host, Aaron Perlott.
Welcome back to the Loadout Music Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Aaron Perlott. Today, we take a slight turn in the road and speak with a friend and mentor who is an accomplished rock and roll singer who has performed all over the world. But she pivoted her career to help others succeed with their voices and has since coached Grammy winners, prepared singers for shows like The Voice and American Idol. She's been named Vocal Instructor of the Year by the Musicians Institute in Hollywood and was also nominated for the Grammy's Music Educator Award by the Recording Academy and Grammy Foundation, among other honors. She is Coreen Sheehan, and she is also my voice coach and friend. Coreen, what is up?
Hey, it's great to be here, Aaron. Thank you so much for having me.
It is a joy and pleasure to have you, not telling me that I did something wrong or going like, hey, yo, what's up with that?
And what's great with all of the lovely photos that you snap every time that I'm making some kind of expression to you, which is always hilarious, and I always appreciate that. It's quite humorous.
I am a douchebag in that way, but that's what makes me lovable somewhat. So I know that you started singing when you were like in your early teens, and I believe if I have this correct, your dad used to come home and kind of a treat for you was, if you were a good girl, was that he would pull out his guitar and he would play some songs so you could sing along. Was that kind of your entry into singing?
Yeah, absolutely. I like kids, they would get like ice cream or whatever, what they were good at the end of the day. But for me, it was, I got to sing songs with my dad. And that was like the biggest joy. I couldn't wait for him to get home from work and obviously sing some songs. And if I was really good, I could sing 3 or 4. If I was okay, it was like maybe 1. Was it. But I always got to sing with my dad. He played acoustic guitar, and he would sing, folk songs, and that's what I would just sing along with. And we did this for years, up until my teenage years, and then, eventually until I moved out. But every time I'd come home, I would always sing with him.
So, you grew up on the East Coast, I think in Maryland, but eventually you moved across the country from near Hollywood, Maryland to near Hollywood, California, because you wanted to pursue a career as a vocalist, as a singer, right?
Absolutely. And so, what my dad and mom did is they put me in, taking lessons and things like that. I was working with a lot of different vocal instructors, and I just didn't find what I was looking for. Everybody was classically trained and wanted me to sing like arias and all this classical stuff. And I knew that's not what I wanted to do. I didn't like that. I wanted to sing contemporary styles of music. I liked pop at the time, and then it went to more rock. And there was nothing on the East Coast. And so I found this college, Musicians Institute in Hollywood, that really kind of catered to everything that I was looking at. And then when I found out some of the instructors that were working there, like Tim Bogart from Vanilla Fudge, just different, guys from Jethro Tull were teaching there. I mean, it was just all these crazy instructors that were professional musicians. I went, that's my place, and I want to learn there, and I want to be able to be seen by them and learn from them, and hopefully they'll take me out on tour. And so I moved out there. I obviously had to apply for the college and made it in. And I mean, I really worked very hard to make a footprint and first impression with all of those instructors. And so many times you had different, what we call live playing workshops, where, there's a band of students, you have to sign up. And a lot of those great musicians, instructors, were teaching those classes as well. And so I wanted to hit all of them. So I would sleep in the hallway of Musicians Institute after having my band rehearsals, because you'd have school classes and then you had band rehearsals at night. So I did all the band rehearsals. I had like 3 different bands, and then I'd sleep in the hallway, bring a pillow and just sleep in the hallway and wait for the morning to come around, 8:30 in the morning, so I could sign up first for all of the performance classes. And it paid off, because what ended up happening was Tim Bogart took me out, on tour with him. Different people took me out on tour with them, and I got to sing with them and on their shows, and whether, background vocals or lead vocals, they let me able to do that. And I love that. So that's really kind of how that came about. And it was those instructors that fought for me to begin teaching. And I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it at first. I didn't want that responsibility of, because someone's voice, I mean, you can't go to Guitar Center and get a new set of vocal cords. So, what you have has to last you a lifetime.
You know what? I tried, and you definitely cannot do that. So I agree.
Yeah. So, I said the only way that I would do this, because MI wanted me to come on as an instructor. I said the only way I would do that is if I had great mentors, and Tim Bogart was one of them, and Keith Wyatt from the Blasters, the guitar blues guy, he was another one, and I got to have them really guide me, and that's how that all kind of came about. Just amazing mentors.
Did you have kind of this internal battle inside your soul of pursuing kind of, the stereotypical rock and roll stardom versus being an educator? Was that ever kind of a battle within you?
Yeah, I mean, that's why also I didn't want to become an instructor. I was more focused on performing and writing my material and doing all of that. And I really had some great musicians in the band that I was playing with at the time, and they were all guys. The drummer was a very good friend of mine. We've kind of lost touch through the years, but he's now the drummer for Korn, Ray Luzier. And so we went to school together, and so he was my drummer, and we were best friends. And then I had some other great guitar players, and we just had a blast. The same time I went to MI, Chad Smith from the Chili Peppers, he enrolled in the drum school, and it was shortly, I guess, about a month into school, he got the audition for the Chili Peppers, and then he was gone. And so that stuff would happen all the time. It was just the cream of the crop of the musicians at that time, at MI. And MI had such a great reputation at that time of just kind of spitting out some really great musicians, and they all, were doing something or another, with a big band, or touring around, or just finding their own niche in the music career. And some great became producers, and some went more into songwriting, and it's just interesting, and what's great is the music world, even though it seems so large, it really isn't. There's such a great network, and you want to remain obviously friends with everybody and on good terms with everybody that you possibly can, because you never know when it's going to come back around, and you're going to have to work with that person again in some aspect.
But just to be clear, you never saw Flea's junk. You just, Chad Smith is just going to go there. So that's the only Chili Peppers reference, right?
No, I never saw that. I don't even know.
All right. Okay. So, talk about, I mean, one of the things that really I find amazing about you is that you spent a while in a band called Whole Lot of Roses, which is obviously named for the phenomenal but lesser known AC/DC song
Yeah.
And you're an AC/DC tribute band that is all women.
Yeah.
I know they're still together. You're no longer with them, but you were singing with this band, and I mean, thinking about Brian Johnson's vocals and trying to give your twist on it while probably staying true to that, I would imagine that takes a tremendous amount of it just puts a lot of weight on your vocals. Those songs are very difficult to sing.
Whole Lot of Rosies was a blast. I was with Whole Lot of Rosies for, no, believe it or not, 18 years. I was with Whole Lot of Rosies. And Whole Lot of Rosies, I don't know if you know this, was the first female tribute band that ever was. Meaning, all of these tribute bands started kind of in Hollywood. And I remember hearing about Whole Lot of Rosies. It was a different lineup. I was playing in another band called the Hottie Knockers, and that was
A
with,
great name.
oh yeah. And so I was with this band called the Hottie Knockers, and that consisted of Tommy Lee's sister, Athena. She was playing drums, and she did all the moves just like Tommy, her brother. I mean, it was just amazing. And so we were playing, and a Whole Lot of Rosies was playing, and I met the manager who's the rhythm player of Whole Lot of Rosies, and she's the one who started the band. And she said, you know, we're going to be auditioning a new singer. Would you please come down and sing? And I got to be honest, the only reason why I did it was because of what you just said. It's one of the most difficult artists to cover, because there were two artists. There was Bon Scott, okay, early AC/DC, which I love even more, to be honest with you. Brian Johnson is a badass, obviously, but his vocals are very, very different than what Bon's was. Bon could be clean, he could be dirty and gritty, great attitude, good range. Brian Johnson has range, okay?
But he's more just grit.
Grit. And so I had to be able to cover both, because they do everything, you know, the whole spectrum of AC/DC songs. So I wanted to do that because I wanted to work more on my vocal effects. It wasn't even really, honestly, I was like, oh, it's going to be drama. It's a girl band, you know, I'm just going to learn these songs and do this just to have fun and just to see how good, you know, I can handle all that. And that's why I joined that band. But then fast forward, it was cool, and there was so many great opportunities, and I got to tour, you know, all over the world with these girls, and do a movie on with Dylan McDermott in, you know, Universal Studios. We filmed, and that was with Henry Winkler and everybody. It was this crazy film. Hey, he was really cool, by the way. And yeah, different commercials, like for Carl's Jr. and different things like that. I mean, we just did all these crazy stuff. And it just had such a great reputation.
Yeah.
And everybody wanted to hire a Whole Lot of Rosies. So it just came out of the woodwork. And so it was just fun. We made money, which was great, things that don't suck. And we just had a blast. And you know, so many great things. We opened for the Foo Fighters. I mean, think about that. I mean, that's just crazy. Fun stuff. So many different people that would get up and jam with us from time to time. And we got to go to Germany. We played for the troops there. We've been in South Korea. We've been over there. I mean, we've been everywhere. It's just was such a great run and an amazing time. And it was a show. It was great songs, and we worked really hard to be very authentic to really capturing that sound.
Yeah, like true to the original performances.
Absolutely. But we also had our own spin on it too, performance-wise, where we just, you know, we were all girl band and just out having a blast. And yeah, like we did the Maxim parties down in Vegas. I mean, just crazy stuff,
Mm.
fun, just
Yeah, yeah.
so much fun.
So, you've become a pretty renowned vocal coach, and I know it's sometimes I know a lot of your clients don't want to people to know that they're actually working with you because they don't want to be seen as having a coach. I mean, everyone who hates Atomic Junk Shots vocals can blame you, of course, because you're responsible for mine. But talk about, what always amazes me about you, from the very beginning has been your concentration on the science of what you do, because it's not just simply about, oh, you're not doing this right, or you're making a sound wrong, or your pitch isn't high. I mean, there is a science about it, whether you're talking about arytenoids or what have you. And talk a little bit about how when you step into an engagement, how you approach a new client and working with them, because I know you always approach it very much from a scientific perspective.
Absolutely. I come from 4 different techniques, but the one that I lean on the most is the scientific principles that are associated with the correct vocal production. And basically what that means is I get down to the nitty-gritty. I get down to what's going on internally inside the larynx, how your vocal cords are stretching. If I get super technical, which you will understand, if how your thyroid mechanisms are stretching the front of your vocal cords forward and down to produce your lower registered notes, upper register arytenoid mechanisms that stretch the back of your vocal cords up and back to produce your upper registered notes and a great percentage of your middle registered notes. And I talk about the middle register mainly because this is where we sing 98% of the time when we sing contemporary styled songs. And we'll come up, we'll hit a money note, in your upper register, or sometimes we'll come down, like if it's a Nirvana song, you go down and you would hit a lower note and come back up into that middle register. And the middle register is definitely I feel one of the most misunderstood sections, because many vocalists will just kind of push their way through it and see if they can land their notes and whatnot. And it's usually used with force many times. I want to say 9 times out of 10, people will use more air pressure, which increases the volume to be able to hit higher notes. And one thing for me has always been to educate vocalists on what needs to stretch with your vocal cords, what area of the vocal cords needs to be strengthened to be able to produce this, but also understanding about placement. And a lot of vocalists don't understand about placement. And what that has to do with is where the air of the vowels are leaned in your hard palate and or soft palate, which is in the roof of your mouth. Obviously, if you take the tip of your tongue, glide your tongue from the back front teeth and the roof of your mouth all the way back to the back, you can feel where 75% is hard, last 25% is soft. Hard palates for contemporary style music, and for more traditional methods, meaning classical, old school theatrical, you lean into the soft palate. And I've just really nerded out, I want to say, over how to train the voice. And I have over 20 years doing this. I've worked in the college university systems in the US and in Japan, and around in other schools around the globe, where I go and I teach contemporary styles of music, and I have to work with contemporary artists. And do I work sometimes with classical? Yeah. Do I like it? Uh, I'd rather work with contemporary because there's so many gears to the voice. And when we sing, we sometimes aren't singing clean. Sometimes we're putting effects in there. And well, you have to know how to control your voice and how to take care of it to be able to do what I call the vocal gymnastics of singing songs and singing with vocal effects. All of that is really important, but maintaining that is even more crucial. And that's one of the principles that I'm, among many, that I'm really adamant about with all the artists that I work with. And some of the artists, you know, they're out touring 18 months of the year. And well, they just can't have a bad day. They have to be 110% every single day. And so that work ethic and that type of training, that's how I train across the board. I don't care if you're signed or not. If I'm working with you, and I won't work with everybody. I'll only work with musicians, vocalists that are really serious about wanting to really upgrade their voice, to really improve it or to keep it in tip-top shape, because that's what you have to do. If you want to be considered professional, to be professional, you have to be consistent. And if you're not consistent, then you're labeled unprofessional. And that, I'm absolutely adamant that every vocalist that I work with, that, okay, we have to be consistent, to be taken seriously, because you're a professional. And to
Well,
be
but it still begs the question of why the hell you would take me on as a client. So I think that's important.
well, I was threatened.
We're done. Yeah. Maybe I was gonna send Sam Morrow after you. But I mean, it should be noted that you not only teach, but I mean, you wrote curricula. You
Yeah.
actually have written vocal technique books that
Yeah.
are used with Hal Leonard Publications and uh, uh, for training in rock vocals. So I mean, it's not just something you talk about, but you actually have documentation out there that other people use your teaching methodology, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know, there's that's the great thing is, I think writing, I'm going to be honest, to write a book is insanely difficult. It really is. You think that, oh, you know, have all this knowledge, you know, you write a book and, you know, you have it published. Well, no, it takes, for example, 5-star music makeover. I brought in 4 other authors. We pitched this to Hal Leonard, and that took, even though it was a small, you know, my vocal section was, you know, what they call it, the singing section, was a small part of that book. You know, it's like one chunk of it. It took, I think, a little over 2 years, because you write it and it goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth to the editor and back, and that can be kind of rough. And so there's a lot of fine tuning that goes into that. It's not fast. Curricula, that to me is easier to do, but there's still a process with that as well. And so I had vocal technique curricula at Musicians Institute, a few schools, gosh, what was it? 3 schools in Japan, and then I've helped advise for other music colleges of curricula for their performance curricula, all kinds of stuff, teacher training curricula, all of it. I've
Do you ever, and obviously I'm not gonna ever ask you to name names on this, but have you ever gotten a student and been like, oh fuck, there's no, this person cannot be helped? I mean, has that ever happened? Even no matter how serious they might be, but you just simply don't believe that they can. I mean, it's kind of like if I'm 5'4" and I say I want to be an NBA center, it ain't gonna happen. So I mean, I'm assuming you at least have people that come knock on your door that would love to have someone with your background and achievements teach them, and you're just like, I can't do that. Has that ever happened?
Yes, and I'm going to put it to you this way. When you work at sometimes a music school, that's how I'm going to put that. you sometimes are going to have people that are there that are, I like to call it challenged. Okay. And no. And what I want to say is, I believe everybody can sing. Everybody has the facility to be able to do it. What it comes down to is their determination and hard work on their part of how good they're going to become. And I'm going to use an example. And this is actually my 5-star music makeover book. I have this story about the 3-note student, and I'm not lying. I had a student come in, and it was in what was called an open counseling. So there were many vocalists and great vocalists in this class that would always come in. And so this kid came in, and he was a guitar guy, and he came in, and he goes, "I want to sing, but I've never sung before, and I don't really think I'm that great, but I really want to learn because I want to write my songs. I want to sing." And I said, "Okay." So he came in, and I began on the keyboard, and he had 3 notes he could hit. If I would hit anything above it, he would go right back to the 3 notes. If I hit anything below it, he'd go right back to the 3 notes. He was the 3-note student. He had no other notes in his range whatsoever, just 3 notes. And I went, "We got to start." And everybody laughed. All the other students in the class, they were laughing at him. And he was very lighthearted. He's like, "Yeah, I know, but you know what? I don't care. I'm going to learn." And I went, "Great attitude. Then I'll help you." And so every week, just in this little, it was like an hour, and I had to work with many different vocalists in this. So he would have like 10 minutes time, tops. And so we began to work and began to expand of those 3 notes. I began to expand because he spoke with thyroid effort. So I knew for lower register that we could gain that. So I began there, and we began to expand that. Then I began to start teaching him how to sing in his upper register with a retinoid effort and being able to expand that range. He, in 3 months, and this is no lie, in 3 months, he had over 3 octaves, and he was able to use vocal effects in there too. Then we started to work on his songs. And in the next couple of months, he was singing all of his songs. He was there at the school for 6 months, and I would work from even in the last month a bit. And then he sent me his CD and him singing on it. And he sounded great. And this kid had 3 notes. Anybody else probably would have discarded him, but I didn't, because I saw determination and I knew that he could work hard. So I believe, and that's not the only story, that's one. I've been doing this for
Today he is known as Liberace. And
he's doing his thing. I haven't stayed in touch with him, but was doing his thing. Ran into him a few times out in Hollywood, and he's like, "Yeah, I got my band, we're touring." I'm like, "Great."
So let me ask you this. So let me ask you this on a higher level.
Yeah.
When you are asked to come in and help train a vocalist for something like The Voice or American Idol or X Factor, something that has, or I know you've had Grammy nominees you've worked with, but you know that they have a lot riding on what you're doing for them and helping them accomplish. Does that add an extra layer of pressure for you because you feel almost responsible for whether they succeed or not?
Okay, that's a great question. For me to work with somebody that is in that kind of realm, I look at TV and touring kind of the same but kind of different. With TV, sometimes it's a few episodes. Usually the vocalist that I work with, it's called the executive rounds. Okay. Sometimes it's prepping those vocalists before they go on the show. And then sometimes when you're on any of the singing shows, the show actually gives you a vocal coach on the show. Okay. Like The Voice or what used to be The Four or American Idol. They have what we call in-house coaches. But an executive round means they're not going from the very beginning. Like they're kind of like expedited into a process of, maybe there's already been like 3 or 5 auditions to weed out everyone, and then the executive rounds will come in, and these people that have made it through a certain amount of time, then they come in and then they keep auditioning. So I'll do like those executive rounds of prep for vocalists before they're going on the show. And then if they're on a few rounds, I'll continue to work with them on the outside. But that's typically how that works for me. Yeah, because that is a footprint of my work. And because I'm so meticulous in making sure that a vocalist is absolutely prepared mentally and physically. So it even goes beyond just the voice. It's down to performance, it's down to image, it's down to a lot of different things that are very important. You know, because I've been on the other side of it too, Erin, where I've had to sit with like, you know, people from Sony or Universal, and we're judging vocalists, you know. So I've been on that side of it as well. And I know what they look for. And I know what these shows are looking for too. And so I will make sure that a vocalist is prepped absolutely to ensure that they're at their best. They're being seen and heard in their best light. With touring, that is a whole other stamina. Okay. And making sure that a vocalist is maintaining that perfect condition as best as they can, because touring is brutal. You don't get a lot of sleep. You're moving from city to city. You're flying. And there's really no days off. Even though they say there's days off, you're just so fatigued, and there's usually something else that they're making you do, on that day off. So there's really no days off. So there has to be this continual ritual of them being able to maintain and keep themselves in tip-top condition. It's with the voice, it's with the body, it's with the mind, it's the whole shebang. So that takes a whole other prep to work, but they all have things that they need to practice. They have their exercises that they need to do, just like any profession. A professional.
I believe I've been reminded to do certain exercise before shows. So
absolutely, because you are a professional athlete of the voice. And just like any athlete, let's take a soccer player. They're just not going to roll up in their car and like run out to the field and it's game time. No, they have to warm up. And they have coaches to make sure that they're staying in absolute perfect condition to be a professional. And that's my job. That's who I work with. And that's important,
Perfect condition to be a professional. All right, I'm going to get you out of here with this question. Thinking back on your career, and you've been doing this a long time, what are you most proud of when you think about, because you've kind of taken this role where it's like BASF, you're not, people don't see you at the end of the day. They see a lot of your clients performing. What are you most proud of what you've been able to accomplish over the years?
Wow, that's a toughie. I think being a vocal coach, you're really behind the scenes. You really are. You know, I know when I get to see my artists performing and what they're doing and what they're accomplishing. And it just makes me smile because I know where they were, or I know what happened at one point in time with them. And it remains confidential always with me. Some artists, like I said, will let me talk about them. Others, no one would even know that I'm working with them. And that's just like, that's where it has to be. But I feel at the end of the day, great that I know that I've made a difference in someone's life, to be able to prepare them and to be able to educate them enough to being able to, hopefully, if they stay on track, to maintain that voice to last them a lifetime for their career. And that was the whole reason why I pursued, and I didn't pursue it in the beginning, like I mentioned, but when I did, and I finally took the plunge and started educating, I knew that I was going to be 110% in to really help and watch people evolve and to reach the dreams that they wanted to accomplish in their careers. And that's the whole reason why I do this. I love it. I'm passionate about what I do. I care about what I do. I care about other people, and I care about them being able to continue on and on and on until they don't want to do it anymore. And that's what I love. So yeah, I'm behind the scenes. Sometimes, it's kind of like, I wish I could always be with, all of my artists when they're out there doing their thing, but I can't. There's so many people that I'm working with, and I love it. I love it. And I love singing, and I'll never stop. Music is in my soul. Music is in my blood. I will do it till the day I die. And that's what I love. So yeah.
That's what you love. Coreen Sheehan, let's hope you give me a discount next month for this quid pro quo. Thank you so much for being our latest guest on the Loadout Music Podcast. It has been awesome talking to
you so very much, Aaron. It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me.